Hey guys, if you're catching the replay, let me know you're here because that's important to me. So hashtag replay. We're gonna wait. I got here a little late. We have 1 minute till 7. So we're gonna let people join and y'all know I'm a sucker for a velvet shirt. Oh, y'all know. Oh my goodness. Oh, I like kickers. That's cute. Did y'all name it? Did y'all name your morning grape kickers? I really like that. Cheryl, did y'all name the grape kickers? Or was that just something someone said? Thank you. I can't decide if I should. It has this, and I feel like I'm trying to be royal, like a royalty. So I'm like, I feel kind of weird, but I do like, I'm all about. I didn't have a green velvet shirt, so I'm like trying to get every velvet shirt I can because I love them. And it seems like every time I wear them, it's because they're such vibrant colors. People always like compliment them. So, like, if you need some compliments, go get you a velvet shirt and then go in public, and people are going to tell you they like your shirt because they're beautiful colors when they're velvet. So, if you're fishing for a compliment, listen, go get you a velvet shirt. You'll get all kinds of compliments. Just saying. Hey, Chris. Wait a minute, I gotta think of their name. Is it Leanne Pappin? Who is that? I think it's Leanne. I don't remember. She looks like Julie, so she's got to be related to Julie. But something Pappin. Let's see. Let me see if I can see. It came up for me to not Julie Pappin. It's like, no, I'm not talking about your wife. Like, I got this thing from Leanne Pappin or something like that. Now I've lost it. It was asking me to be friends with her, and I was like, she has to be related to them because she looks like Julie. But it was like Leanne Pappin. It was sending me it was like requesting a friend. And I was like, it's got to be Julie Pappin's family. Okay, Leanne. But she don't spell it like you just typed it. She spells it kind of a different name. I mean, a different way. But it said, it looked like Julie. So I was like, it's got to be her relative. Okay, we have a baby. Okay, I'm like fixing every male in my farm because I'm not going to have babies no more. And I have a baby and I love every second of it. It feels very confusing, y'all, because I absolutely love having babies. Oh my gosh, but they don't stay babies, right? But I love having babies. But when I walked out to the farm yesterday and I went to let the animals out, I knew that she was having a baby that day. I was like, she's having a baby. Oh, hang on. This is so I'm sorry, I'm getting off the subject. This person that just texted me is one of the first volunteers on my farm. And he volunteered because he needed beta. He's part of the beta club or something like that. And he needed volunteer hours at a nonprofit. So him and Haley came here. They were my first volunteers. That's how I met Haley. And so he was just telling me he missed me. Okay. So anyway, I go out there and, I've done this long enough to know when we fixing to spit one out, right? Like I've had a farm since 2020. So 4 years. It'll be 4 years this summer. So I've had goats long enough to know that she's fixing to spit one out. So I walked out there yesterday and her bag was full. And I was like, oh, we finna have a. I didn't think she was going to have the baby for a couple of weeks, but that milk just dropped in and I was like, we having a baby. I'm doing a video, Mary, tomorrow. So the video of the baby will come out tomorrow. Oh shoot. The video of the baby will come out tomorrow. But it already has a home. So I will just tell you, I have 3 baby goats right now. Well, they're 2 months old. So now I've got to remember their names. King Tut. I thought she said Rut. I thought she said his name was Rut. I've been calling him Rut, but his name is the one that's spotted, the black spotted one is named King Tut. Hang on. I got to remember these names. Jeez, I've got so many. Okay. The one with black ears is named Ramsey. The one with white ears is Rutger, not Ruger, Rutger. And then she just purchased my new baby that was born yesterday, and his name is Freckles. So all 4 of these goats will be fixed, and they will be going to her house, and they will be pets. And I'm so excited that all 4 goats are going together because they're going to be raised together, so they're going to always know each other. As a matter of fact, let me just show you. I sent her this picture yesterday, but this is how much they love each other. They sleep together like that. So the baby will bond with them too. And so it makes that, like, knowing that they're going to be pets and have a big pasture, that makes my heart happy. So I'm very excited that they will all go together. Okay, this is what we're going to talk about today. On Facebook, I cannot see the age group that follows me. So I have no idea how old people are that follow me on Facebook. But YouTube is creator friendly, and I can see exactly how old y'all are. I mean, not like by person, but it'll say 76% of the people that are following you are 65 and older. So like I know like that. I don't like know per se, that Mary is 25. I don't know that. But I know the age group that follows me. And majority, I think it's 67% that follow me are 65 and older. So today's message is for you. All right. So last Monday, I was in the living room having to whisper because everybody in my house was asleep. And so we were talking about this past Monday, we were talking about how hard it is to have 20-year-olds and how when they have kids, like you have to, like as a grandparent, you have to keep your mouth shut because like, let's just say that your grandkid comes to your house and they won't eat vegetables and you find yourself wanting to fix that problem because that's not good for them because they're not getting their right vitamins. And then as a grandparent, you think you're doing the right thing by correcting them. Or you want to sit down and talk to your son and go, listen, he's not eating his green beans and you need to watch that. Is he taking a multivitamin? Because as a grandparent, you've already been there, done that. So like you're a little bit ahead of the ball game, but like your kids that have kids are not ahead of the ball game. So they're not like, mom, just quit worrying about him eating green beans. He won't eat vegetables. He eats mac and cheese and chicken nuggets. And then as a grandparent, you're like, oh, that's my grandbaby. That like, he's going to be healthy. And you start telling your kids what to do. And that becomes a complete disaster. Remember us talking about that Monday? If you weren't live Monday, you might not know what I'm talking about. So after this video, if you have time, on your hands, you can go watch the Monday replay to see what we're talking about. So this is someone that's 67 years old, because she told me her age. She wrote this comment, and I can't remember her name. So if it's you, you inspired this conversation. But she said, you think the 20s are hard. Wait till you get 67 and your kids start thinking they're your parents. And they start telling you what to do, and they start thinking that you're losing your mind. They're looking for ways that you're losing your mind. And I sat there and I read that message, and it was a slap in the face for me. I'm so glad she wrote that comment, because it made me, you know how I talk about breaking down what people are trying to say? I sat there and I read that message, and I was like, wow. It was almost as if she wrote that message for me. She didn't know she was talking to me. She was just talking in general, but it hit home with me. And I thought about, a lot of subscribers that follow me on YouTube are 65 and older. So I know that you're facing this or have faced this. So I want to talk about it. So this week, I found this odd. That this happens to me a lot. This week, my youngest son, had to go to a thespian. I don't think I said thespian. He told me I say it wrong, which is a theater. Like, it's where high schoolers go and compete and stuff. So, he went to that. Well, he called me on the way to say, hey, Mom, I just wanted to let you know. I talk to my kids almost daily. And he was like, hey, Mom, I'm just reminding you that I'm going. I forgot where he went. Anyway, I'm going to be gone all weekend. I just wanted to remind you. And I'm like, okay. Well, we talked for 30 minutes on his way there. Well, he called me on his way home to tell me how it went. And he had posted a picture of him and this girl. And I said, wow, that was a really good picture of you and that girl. Who was that? And he goes, are you kidding me, Mom? And I was like, what? And he was like, I told you who that was. And I was like, no, you didn't. He's like, Mother, we literally had a 10-minute conversation about this girl on the way to the thespian thing. And I was like, I don't remember that. And he was like, Mother, you scare me. I was like, what? And he said, I literally told you that I was meeting the girl off. My son is a big Brother fan. Big Brother is a TV show. It's like a game. And he would die if he got on Big Brother. He's been watching Big Brother for a long time. So he's like, we literally had a 30-minute conversation about me meeting this girl, Mother. I don't remember any of that. So I'm 50. I'll be 53 in April. And when that lady commented that about her kids look for ways that she's losing her mind, I was like, girl, I'm 50. I wanted to call that lady on the phone and go, can we please talk? Can we please talk? I wish I remembered her name, but I don't remember her name. But it reminded me, because my kids do that to me all the time. All the time. They're like, are you serious, Mother? Like, I literally told you exactly what was going on, and 2 days later, you don't remember the conversation. And I can remember my ex-husband was convinced that I had dementia. Yeah. I was in my 40s. He was convinced that I had dementia. As a matter of fact, he made me go to the doctor to get checked to see if I had dementia, because I couldn't remember things. And do you know how at 40, 50 years old, when that starts happening, I can relate to that lady that's 67 that her kids look for ways she's losing her mind. I can relate to her. And I thought, if it's this bad at 52, what is it going to be like? Are my kids, I feel like my kids are going to drive me crazy when I get, say, my dad's age, 75, and they're going to lose. I can hear them now. I can hear them now going, "Hey, Corbin, it's Vanson. Mom's freaking losing her mind. I just got off the phone with her and I literally had a conversation with her. And 5 minutes later, she has no idea what we're talking about." I can so see my kids getting on the phone going, "What are we going to do about mom?" I don't think she can live by herself anymore because she's not remembering. I don't even know if she's taking her medicine right because she's not remembering. And I just can see that. And I could sympathize with this lady. I could sympathize with her about how she feels. And I thought, and then it took me, a lot of times you need to you need to do this. Okay. Anytime you're in a situation, you need to know, I feel like things don't just happen for the get go. Like, I don't know how the right word, I can't say the right word, but things happen for a reason. I feel like there's something that you need to learn from every situation that is said to you. And when the lady commented that, it made me go, what do I need to learn from this? What do I need to learn from this? And I thought, if I'm experiencing this at 50, and it made me stop for just a minute and think about my dad, because I do that. I can go, I can get on the phone with Shane. Like yesterday, I got on the phone with Shane and I was like crying. I was bawling my eyes out over my dad. I was like, I cannot deal with this and I don't know what to do. I feel like I can't do it all. I feel like everything's on me. Everything's piling on me. I'm trying to balance my life and I feel like I'm falling apart little by little. Because yesterday was not a good day for my dad. And when the lady made that comment, it made me think about the way I do my dad. Because I'm going to tell you something. I do the same exact thing to my dad that my kids do to me and that lady's kids do to her. I find my going, let me just tell you what he did. Like, I find myself talking to Shane or my brother, and I'm like, oh, let me just tell you what he did today. Because a lot of things do not make sense. But it made me slow down a minute and try to be mindful that, you know how sometimes when you're in situations and they're really hard, and it's like you have to not think of yourself, but think of the other person. So it made me stop and get in my dad's shoes. And I started thinking about all the 67% of you that are 65 and older that are going through the exact same thing that my dad's going through. And how difficult it must be for your kids to be getting on the phone with each other going, let me tell you what mom said today. Like, what do we need to do? Do we need to put her in a home? I don't think she needs to live by herself anymore. And y'all are starting to lose your independence, like Larry, and how difficult it is for what the things that y'all go through. And the thought of your kids going, Mom, I don't think you need to drive anymore. And then you're like, you're my child. I am your mother. You're not about to tell me what to do. And I thought about how, you know, your kids are born and you're the mother and you take care of them, and then how it revolves around, and then they, as you get older, it's like your kids become the parents and they're taking care of you, and how difficult that must be. I can't even imagine. I cannot sit here and fathom the thought of my kids making decisions for me. Can- I cannot fathom the thought of that. And I just thought that I wanted to talk about it, but I want to talk about it from both sides. Because I always tell you, in a conversation there's two sides, right? There's the side that you hear, and then there's the side that's actually the facts of what was said. Because a lot of times we interpret what we want to interpret, and then we walk away and we're like upset because we heard this, and you have to get away from that conversation and go, okay, I heard this. This is what they said. What are the facts? Am I sitting here thinking they meant this, but they didn't mean that? But I'm thinking in my head, they meant this. And that's the moment you have to break it down and go, okay, but what did they actually say? What did they say? Because that's what's important, is to stick with the facts. And as a matter of fact, I did a short this week on that, because a lot of times I will interpret something and I'm like, okay, Judy, is that your emotions playing tricks on you, or is that facts? Is that actually what was said? And is that actually what they meant? And sometimes for me, I have to go to that person and go, because like in the middle of a conversation, like for Shane, for example, he'll say something. I interpret it a certain way. I go off and I stayed mad for a week. Oh yeah, I'll stay mad for a week, but he don't know it. And I will sit there and replay what he said to me over and over and over. And then I begin to tell myself he doesn't care about me, or if he cared, he would have done this. And I'm not important to him, and I'm not first in his life. And I start going spinning out of control, interpreting what he's saying. And that is not what he said. And so I have learned, instead of being mad for a week, I've learned to go back to him and go, okay, look, explain to me, when you said this, what do you actually mean? Because I'm interpreting this. And he's like, that is not what I said. That is not what I said. But then I interpreted that he don't love me, and that he I'm just not important to him. I go tell myself all kinds of crap. But with my dad in this situation, a lot of times he will, okay, like for example, I told y'all he had an episode a couple of weeks ago. Okay. So let's talk about it. He had an episode. I went out there to do animals, and I come in to the house to find him embracing the wall with his head down, with both hands on the wall. And I was like, what's wrong with you? Nothing. Nothing. So we just stand with our hands on the wall and our heads down like this for just no reason at all. So there's literally nothing wrong with you. So I walk away and I'm mad as heck. I'm mad because I'm like, he is such a liar. He don't trust me. So then I go into this. I'm like, he doesn't trust me. He just is a big fat liar. It's very obviously something's going on, and he don't want to tell me. So I go into this rage, just like when you are going through something and you don't tell your kids are doing the same exact thing because you're not telling them the truth. Like, yes, I'm dizzy. And then your kids may over exaggerate and go, Mom, why are you dizzy? Do you need to be staying here by yourself? You need to sit down. Like you don't want to hear all that. So as a person, let's just say 75 and older, you're trying to live by yourself. And the last thing you want to do is be in a nursing home, or the last thing you want to be doing is living with your kids. So you're not going to tell your kids anything that's wrong, because you're like, I'm going to take care of myself. Like, my kids are not going to tell me what to do. So when I walk in and I see him embraced like that, and I say to him, what's wrong? And he says nothing. Then I walk away mad, because I'm telling myself for hours, he is a bald-faced liar. That's what I tell myself. And then I'm mad and I'm frustrated, and I'm like, I don't understand. Like, is he just lying? Is this dementia? Like, what is this? Why can't he tell me what's wrong? And I'm stewing over it for hours. Then we walk into Subway and he almost passed out. And of course, what do? Oh, I knew it. I knew I was right. Mm-hmm. He's not going to tell me. He's going to lay here and get to the point where he has to go in the hospital, instead of correcting the problem by the doctor and getting on medication or figuring out why he's dizzy. We're just going to wait and fall out on the floor in the middle of Subway and then go in the hospital. Like, that's what I'm telling myself. But let's break it down. When you're and I'm talking to you 65 and older, when you're having, let's just say, an episode that you don't want to talk about because you don't want your kids to freak out or whatever, let's break it down in what you're actually trying to say to your children. Okay? Because it's taken me a moment to figure this out. And talking about it today is actually helping me too. But what you're saying are what my dad is saying to me. Instead of him being a bald-faced liar, which he is when he doesn't tell me the truth. But let's stop and talk about what he's actually trying to say to me. All right, he's had cancer, right? And I have drove to Birmingham every day for a month and a half. So I've had to stop doing my farm. I've had to hire Kayla to come help with my farm. And I've had to stop my entire life, which he knows I love my farm. So he knows he's taking me away from what I love. I'm having to stop everything I'm doing to take care of him. So what is that doing to him? You tell me. You're 65 and older. When your kids are having to get off work to take you to the doctor, how does that make you feel? I want to hear what you say. Even if you're not 65, let's say that you're, let's say that you're younger. Let's say that let's just say, let's don't say to the doctor. Let's just say, if you're having to depend on your parents right now, how do you feel? What goes through your mind if you're having to depend on your parents for any reason at all? He feels like a bother. I can't see. Mom thought she was a burden. A burden. He feels guilty. He feels like a burden. He feels guilty. All these things. So that's what he's feeling. So he just got finished with, and you see how it is important to break things down. Because my first reaction to him not telling me the truth about being dizzy was I was mad. And I was staying mad. And I got really mad when he about hit the floor in Subway and the Subway worker, like I was really angry. Like, why are you lying to me? Why are you not telling me what's wrong? And it's important. Now, my reaction to being mad, I'm not beating myself up over that because I think that anybody would react the way I reacted. But this is when I have to get off. When I go through situations that cause me anxiety, frustration, all those things, I have to go get off by myself. I have to get away from people, get off by myself and go, what the crap is wrong with me? Why do I have anxiety? Why do I feel stressed out? What the heck? What is wrong with me? And I sat here by myself and was like, and I tell myself, I look in the mirror and I'm like, Judy, you are so frustrated because you're trying to do it all. And there's one of you. So what are you going to do about it? What is going on with your dad? And I start questioning myself. Am I making a mistake? My dad's on hospice. Am I making a mistake? Should I force him to go to the doctor and go get him help to find out why he's dizzy? His blood pressure was 80/40 yesterday. So do I get him off hospice and take him to the doctor against his will to figure out what's wrong with him? Like, what do I do? But when I get off by myself is when I can think clearly. And I can go, what is he trying to tell me? When he's braced up against the wall with his head down and almost passes out in Subway and looks at me and tells me nothing's wrong, what is he trying to tell me? Instead of me going out of my head, getting mad at him for not telling me the truth, what is he trying to tell me? That is important. So if you're my dad right now and you're having episodes of something, I don't know what it is. It could be something little, but you're like, I ain't telling my kids. What are you trying to say? What are you trying to say? I think you're trying to say everything that you're commenting. I feel guilty because my kids are having to take care of me. I feel guilty because she just drove me to Birmingham every day for a month and a half. Actually, I've been driving him to Birmingham since September, going to doctor's appointments, trying, the heart doctor, the neurologist, the cancer doctor, the radiation. Like I've been doing it since September. And in his brain, he's like, it's not stopping. They've taken my driver's license away. I have dementia. I have cancer. She's having to go all the way to Birmingham to take me to the doctor. And this is another, like, I thought when I had radiation, it was going to be over. Like, that was it. It's over. I don't have to go to the doctor no more. And here I am dizzy. And I feel like that he is protecting me by not telling me what's wrong. And in return, instead of me understanding, I'm firing off getting mad. So then it's making things completely worse instead of slowing down a minute, taking a breath and go, what is going on? What do I need to do to take care of myself? And what do I need to do to take care of my dad? But me going ape crazy, getting mad and yelling at him for not telling me, because when we were in Subway, I looked at him, I said, if you do not tell me what's wrong, we're going to the ER right this minute. What is happening? And he was like, I'm dizzy. Was that so hard to tell me? Instead, we're going to pass out in the middle of Subway because you're not telling me you're dizzy. But see, it's not that he is this terrible man that lies. It's he is not wanting to cause burden upon me. And he's already having to live with me, and he's already having to depend on me to take him places because he can't drive anymore. That's what he's trying to say. I'm sinking. Judy, I'm sinking. And I don't want to be a burden to anyone. He's lived with me for 6 years, and we have been through a lot of medical issues in the 6 years, trying to figure out like why he does the things that he does. But can you imagine for a second how he feels? And when I go over here and lose my crap and get mad at him, he just goes even further down in the hole because I can't keep it together. Because in the moment, all I can do is be mad at him for not telling me the truth. But then when I step away and break down what he's trying to say to me, I can be calm. And this is what the approach is that I did. So I told you that he went on hospice and he thought he was on home health. And I don't really know if there's a difference. I mean, used to there was a difference in hospice and home health. And there is a difference, but it's not like he's on hospice because he's dying. He's on hospice because he needs more care than he would on home health. He's lost weight. He needs his medicine regulated. He needed oxygen. He needed physical therapy. He needed a lot. And home health could not provide all these things for us. Where hospice helps pay for medicine, they are providing him shakes to gain weight back. It's nursing. It's checking vitals. It's not just physical therapy coming out here. And they're communicating with the doctor about his medication, and he don't have to go to the doctor anymore. He can stay here in the environment of his home and be comfortable and not have anxiety about driving to Birmingham every day. So it was just the best decision for him, but it doesn't mean that he's dying. But in his brain, and you 65 and older, that your kids are like forcing you to do things you don't want to do, and you're like, they're driving me crazy. They're sitting here looking for reasons why I've lost my mind, because I feel it a little bit too. And I can only imagine what it's going to be like when I'm 65, 70 years old. My kids are going to drive me crazy. And I'm sitting here thinking in my head that I've had a lot of therapy to get me to where I am today, like being able to understand what he's trying to say to me, because a lot of people that do not have therapy behind their belt, they don't know how to break things down. They don't know how to go, what is he trying to say? They're just mad because they don't know how to deal with it. I feel like in my head, this is me personally, but I feel like every single person needs a counselor to better themselves, to learn how to deal with stressful things, to learn how to deal with life that comes at them. Because without that, you could be me and just be mad all the time. Because I sit here and think, okay, my kids have no therapy under their belt. Like, they're not going to be able to break it down to see what I'm trying to say to them. But sometimes you, as the person that doesn't want to tell your kids the truth because you don't want to burden them, sometimes you have to be the stronger person, and you have to have therapy under your belt to know how to communicate with them and not feel like a burden. Because I'm going to talk to you as a daughter taking care of someone that's sick. If your kids, and you need to let me get the preaching stick out. If you are an elderly person or even a young person where your kids are having to help you, you need to listen to your Aunt Judy. Okay? You need to listen to me. Okay. I'm going to get the preaching stick out if I need to, because if I need to get my truth to you, you know I'm serious when I get this preaching stick out. Okay? If your kids are taking the time to take you to the doctor, to come see you in the hospital, to come see whatever, if they're taking the time to do all that stuff, you're not a burden to them. You're not. Okay. So you need to know that right off the bat. So understand, you know how in the beginning of this conversation, I told you how Shane says something to me and then I interpret it a different way. And then I go stew on it for weeks. And it's not even what he said. You're doing the same thing. What you're doing is when your kids come to your house, or your kids, you have to move in with your kids, or your I don't know, your kids are having to take you for cancer treatments. What you're telling yourself is, I'm nothing but a big fat burden. I'm a burden to my kids. I just need God to take me out of this world because I'm a burden. You're doing what I do. And you're seeing the situation, and then you're walking away and interpreting that situation the way you think it is. You're telling yourself you're a burden. I'm such a burden. My life is falling apart. Now I've lost my driver's license and I'm having to depend on my kids. This is terrible. My life is over. That's what you are telling yourself. That is not what your child is thinking. Not one time in my head do I think that me taking Larry to radiation every single day is a burden to me. Not one time have I ever thought that. Never. Never. And I promise you that your kids are thinking that. It's almost as if I'm glad that I can do it. Like instead of me sitting going, oh my gosh, he is such a burden. I'm having to leave my farm. I'm having to get Kayla to do everything. I'm not thinking that doesn't even cross my brain. And it doesn't even cross your child. Like if you're at home, depending on your children, because you can't drive or you're having to live with them, I promise you, you're not a burden. When you become a burden is when you sit it out and tell yourself all these things and get yourself sideways and get yourself dead, and you can't help around the house because you're such a burden. You're just going to stay in your bedroom. You know, if you're that person that goes, I'll just stay in my bedroom. I know my son-in-law and daughter need time to themselves. So I'm just going to sit in my bedroom and watch TV and just sit here. That's when you become a burden, is when you begin to tell yourself all these lies. Because I know children out there that may say you're a burden. Those aren't your people. Okay. Unfortunately, there are family members, even though, we're taught growing up, family is blood. You depend on your family. Your family will always have your back. That's what we're taught. That's not always the case. Okay. I've learned that. There's times when you have to separate yourself from your toxic family. Okay. But if your children are letting you live with them, and your children are taking you to the doctor, and your children are calling to check on you and stuff like that, I promise you that you're telling yourself you're a burden when you are not a burden. Those are lies that you're telling yourself. Hang on. I feel like I need to get the preaching stick out and repeat this. If you're telling yourself your burdens to your children that you're living with, or that are taking you to the doctor and all those things, you are telling yourself lies. You are becoming a burden when you sit it out and you sit over here and go, oh gosh, I'm such a burden to my kids. Oh, my life is over. I can't drive. I can't take myself to the doctor. My kids are having to go to the grocery store for me. I'm just a burden. That is called, when I tell you that you have choices, you can sit it out or you can dance. You are sitting it out. That is what I'm trying to tell you. That is when, yes, you become a burden. When you're sitting in your room crying and depressed because you can't drive and you can't take yourself to the doctor, that is when you become a burden, is when you sit it out. To not, when I tell you there's choices to sit it out or dance, what does dancing mean in this part? Dancing, when you're at this age and you're having to depend on your children, is when you are grateful. When you can find things that you still can do. Like, you might not be able to drive. You may not be able to hear good. You might not be able to, I don't know, take yourself to the doctor. Those things, you might not be able to go to the grocery store anymore. Those things, I understand that it's hard to lose your independence. I'm watching it right now, and it's the saddest thing I've ever seen in my life. But what's happening in my household is he's sitting it out. And I realize it is a process to lose your driver's license. It's almost as if you have to go through the grieving process to allow your kids to take care of you. It's grieving. You are grieving when you have to sell your house and your property to move in with your children, or you have to go to a nursing home, or you have to, whatever, you lose your driver's license. It is a process. It is a grieving process, and it's natural to go through a little bit of a depression. But sitting it out is staying depressed. Yes, it's natural to be depressed. It is. But when you're stuck in it and you're finding yourself in the bedroom because you don't want to be a burden to your children, that is sitting it out. There's still things that you can do. Can you get up and cook? Can you make that cornbread that your family absolutely loves? I don't know. Can you crochet your great grandkid Afghan still? I don't know. There's something that you can do to dance. Can you can you get on the phone and call people that are going through losing their driver's license, and you can share your testimony with them and go, you know what? It's awful to lose your driver's license. Honey, I understand. It's your best friend, right? You can encourage them to dance by sharing your testimony with them and go, you know what? I'm not going to allow losing my driver's license or me losing my home and having to move in with my kids. I'm not going to allow it to rob me of my happiness. I'm alive. God still has me here on this earth for a reason. I still need to be sharing the good news. I need to be showing people that, I can remember my grandmother, and I've said this before, but my grandmother was 99 when she died. That woman was still barely could walk, was getting on her knees and couldn't figure out how to get up to pray for her family. That's dancing. If you can't physically do something for your family, you sure can pray for them. You can sure, how I tell you that seniors are walking history books? You might have a great granddaughter that just went through a breakup with her first love. Okay. And you can look at your great granddaughter and go, oh, if she only knew that this is not a big deal. You can sit your great granddaughter down and go, let me tell you this story that I've never told you. Like this is one thing that happened to me. I My husband had cheated on me, and I was devastated. This wasn't Shane. I was devastated. And my grandmother said, I want you to come to my house. And I drove to her house, and she sat me down and shared a testimony with what she had gone through with my grandfather. And I was sitting there going, are you kidding? But what it was, now I never knew my grandfather as being a drunk. My grandfather was sober when I was born. But prior to me being existing in this world, he was a drunk. He drank a lot. My grandmother did not drink. My grandmother, I always tell you, my grandmother was Mother Mary. My grandmother was in church all the time, reading her Bible. Like she put God first. And she stayed with my grandfather. And I always wondered how she did that. I'm like, how does this godly woman stay with an alcoholic? But when I was going through the hard times, she sat me down. She called me to her house and she sat me down and she shared this testimony about my grandfather used to get drunk. And for some reason, when he would get drunk, he would begin to accuse her of having an affair. My grandmother would never have an affair, okay? My grandmother is Mother Mary. I guarantee you that my grandfather was the only man she ever slept with. There's no doubt in my head. But she began to share with me how she went through hard times in her marriage and how that my grandfather would lay in bed at night accusing her of having an affair. And she was like, it was because he was drunk. And she dealt with it. So she began to share with me her testimony about being married. And I cannot even begin to tell you what that meant to me, because I realized that, like, I don't know, like, I guess I lived in fantasy land because my grandmother was so perfect to me. Like, and she wasn't perfect, but she was perfect to me. And I knew, like, when I would go through situations, I knew that I could go to her, and I knew that I was getting the truth from her. And I promise you that your grandkids and your great grandkids look at you and respect you. You love your parents, but you love your grandparents. Like, it's a love like you can't even begin to imagine it. And even if you do not have that relationship with your grandkids, it's never too late. It's never too late to share with them your life. Even like you can say, like even talking about your childhood and like, I don't know, maybe you didn't have electricity when you were a kid, or maybe, I don't know, you didn't have closets. Larry told me he didn't have closets when he was a kid. And like, that's so hard for me to imagine. And believe it or not, your great grandkids are amazed by that. You know how you used to say, when I was a kid, we had to walk 3 miles in snow to get to school. Like, when you share those things with your great grandkids, they're sitting here like, what? I mean, it's hard to imagine, but those are memories. That is dancing. Sharing your life experiences with your grandkids or their friends or whatever. Like when your grandkid is going through a breakup and it's their first love and they think their life is over, and then you go, honey, I want you to come to my house. Let me share with you this story. Back when I was in high school, I had this boy that I thought I was going to marry and love, and you tell them your breakup story. You would not even imagine the comfort that you give that person, that when you share your testimony, you have no idea who you're impacting. When I share my testimony, I have no idea. All these strangers that I do not know are listening to my testimony, and I have no idea who thinks I'm crazy and who I'm impacting when you share your testimony. when you just speak. But sitting it out is laying in your bedroom or sitting at home feeling like a burden. That is lies that you tell yourself. You are a burden when you're sitting it out and feeling sorry for yourself and going, oh my gosh, I can't drive. Now I have to depend on my children for the rest of my life. This is awful. That is sitting it out. That is sitting it out. You know, and I know you're like, well, Judy, you haven't lost your driver's license. You don't understand. Listen, I've been through a lot. Maybe I haven't lost my driver's license per se, but I promise you that I live in the middle of that. And I promise you that Larry is not a burden to me. As a matter of fact, he's a blessing to me. I'm glad that Shane provides for us. I'm glad that he has a job that can provide for us, that I could quit my job and stay home with Larry. Because a lot of people don't have that availability. It takes two to work, and they can't stay home with their kids. I mean, their parents. They can't quit their job to stay home with their parents, and they're in a bad situation. So I choose to look at my blessings and go, gosh, my husband provides for us so that I can stay home and take care of Larry for the past 6 years. That man took care of my mom for 11 years, bedridden, poopy pants and all, feeding tube, catheter for 11 years. And the opportunity that I have to take care of him like he took care of my mom is not a burden to me. That is a blessing. Driving him to Birmingham every day was not a burden. It was hard on me. Yes, it was very hard on me, but it's not a burden. It's not a burden. It was, now that it's over with, I'm like, wow, that's something that my kids are watching. They're watching mom stay home and take care of granddad. They watch mom drive granddad to radiation every day. And I'm hoping that I'm teaching them something about caring for others. I hope that their eyes are wide open and I'm teaching them how to treat elders. Because, you know, there is elder abuse out there, right? And I hope they watch me take care of my mom. They watch me take care of my grandmother. And now they're watching me take care of my stepdad. And don't think for a second they ain't watching, because they are. They are. So I hope that if you're 65 and older and are dealing with your kids looking for reasons to think you've lost your mind, they're doing that because they're worried. They don't want to lose you. They don't want you to, you know, you hear about on the news, like people getting lost that have dementia that walk out of the house and their kids, you know, a lot of times you don't know what's going on because, like my grandmother, she hid her dementia. I mean, at the end, you kind of knew, but like I never saw dementia in my grandmother ever. But my Aunt Cheryl and Uncle Kenny that lived with my grandmother started noticing my grandmother going in closets, not knowing how to get to her bedroom. I never saw that because I was a pop-in granddaughter. So I never saw that until the end. But when you live with the person, it's totally different. But your kids are not looking per se for you to lose your mind. They love you. And they want to make sure that they're doing everything in their power to take care of you. You know, there comes a day where you're going to need help with your medicine. There comes a day where you're going to need help taking you to the doctor because you can't hear what the doctor's saying, like Larry, or you don't understand what the doctor's saying. There's going to be a time when you need a little extra help with medication because, you know, you're getting older and You might get confused on what medicine you're supposed to be taking. Allow your kids to help you. Don't sit it out and feel like, don't lie to yourself and tell yourself that you're a burden and not tell the truth because you don't want your kids to have to take off work to take you to the doctor. Don't do that. You become a burden when you do that. That is sitting it out, and that because what's going to end up happening is you're going to fall and break a hip, and then you're going to end up in the hospital having a hip replacement, and then you're going to end up in the nursing home with physical therapy for 6 weeks or whatever, and then you can't come home and live by yourself. When if you would have said, I'm dizzy, something's wrong, then I could have taken you to the doctor and got your blood pressure, regulated or whatever, your medicine, and you don't fall. But you become a burden when you don't tell, you become a burden when you don't tell the truth because you don't want to be a burden to your kids. You understand what I'm saying? And I'm going to tell you, I love that majority of my followers are that old, because it's almost as like when my grandmother died, a part of me died because she was everything to me. And as a matter of fact, Kayla lost her grandmother, and her grandmother was the center of their family. She kept their family together. My grandmother was the exact same way. And if I had to guess, you're the exact same way. You keep your family coming together at Christmas. You keep the peace in the family. Your two kids may fight, but by God, they're going to be in the same room because mama's in the room. That kind, you hold your family together. And when my grandmother died, a part of me died. It was just like, I don't know. I still get emotional about her death because I was very close to my grandmother. And when I saw that majority of the followers that follow me are 65 and older, it was almost as if I felt like I had 65, not that my grandmother was 65 or 75 years old. No, my grandmother would be 120, but it almost feels like sometimes I think that I'm still 20. I think I'm 20, and I feel like I have all these grandmothers, and it makes me feel like I can feel like the older people on here. I feel loved. I feel as if my grandmother's still alive, and and she multiplied by, I don't know how many followers I have, but she multiplied by the thousands. It's like wonderful. And I feel like, I'm protective of you. I'm very protective of the older population that follows me. I am. I'm very protective of you. It means a lot to me that you take the time to watch my videos and listen to me live. And I hope that I say something today that touches you, because if you're Larry and you feel like you're a burden, I hope that you realize you're sitting it out when you do that, because it's a big fat lie that you tell yourself. And again, you're probably like me. And once you start telling yourself that you're a burden, then it just keeps spinning, because then you get depressed. Then you don't leave your room. And then you don't want to tell your kids what's wrong. And then it just keeps going because you're telling yourself you're a burden. And it's just a lie that you're telling yourself. And don't do that. When you're here with me, you need to learn what the definition of dance means. Yes, it does mean physically dance, but there's so much more to the meaning of dance. And just because you're in a nursing home, I don't know, you may be watching me from a nursing home. There's so many opportunities for you to dance in a nursing home. There's people that they're in a nursing home that do not have family, that do not get visited. But guess what? By dancing is you going in their room and making them feel loved and cared about. Because you might have family that come visit you, but your neighbor doesn't. And you, being a friend, is dancing. You going, oh God, I'm in the nursing home. Oh, my life's over. My kids threw me in the nursing home because they couldn't deal with me or whatever. That's lies you're telling yourself. You are still alive, and you still have the opportunity to be a testimony to someone else. Just open your mouth. Open your mouth. Y'all go share stories about when you were kids and you had to walk to school or use an outhouse. I don't know. Maybe that didn't happen in your era of time. I don't know. I hate wearing mascara. It just doesn't go in my eyes. I don't have on blush. I'll just tell you this, you're not a burden to me. I'll be your grandkid. I'll be your grandkid. I can take care of you through the phone. I can put some in your butt to get you moving. All right. This is as good as it's going to get today. I hope today meant a lot to me because of who I'm talking to. And if you are a daughter taking care of your parents right now and you feel overwhelmed or stressed or whatever, it's normal. I mean, it's hard. You're trying to balance your life and maybe you're having to work on top of taking care of your parents and you feel pulled 100 ways. My video that's coming out Thursday, I'll just tell you. So I was outside with my mama fixing to have a baby. The nurse was coming. I had to talk to the nurse because Larry had an episode yesterday. And I'm like running from the farm to the home, to the farm to the home. And it was like, I felt like I was going to fall out because I was worried about my mama goat, but I was worried about Larry and I was having to go back and forth. And you know what? That's not a burden to me. It's not. I must have walked 40,000 steps yesterday going back and forth from the barn to Larry, making sure everything was okay. But that's not a burden to me. You know what? I sat there and thought, "Whoa, I'm getting some good exercise today. I can eat a cupcake." Like I see the good in it. I'm like, I'm so glad that I can be here with him and try to make him learn to dance. Try to make him go, you know what? Your life's not terrible. I mean, maybe it is living with me. I don't know. But like a lot of people that are elderly would love to have this farm. Would you not love to have a farm that you just go sit out there and watch the chickens? Like Larry's lucky. Larry's blessed, but he doesn't know it. So I'm trying to teach him, but I can't convince him that he's not a burden. And I bet your kids are trying to convince you that you're not a burden and they're having a hard time because you're sitting it out. Sure enough, every time you make your kids try to convince you and preach to you that you're not a burden, that is causing them anxiety. I'm here to tell you that you're not a burden. So today is Wednesday and you have choices. You can sit around and feel sorry for yourself and think that you're a burden and feel sorry for yourself because you're not driving, or you can let yourself go through that grieving process, which is natural. But don't stay stuck in it. Don't stay stuck in grieving. Allow yourself to move on and find your purpose because you still have a purpose in life no matter what age you are. There is a way that you can dance and make a difference in someone's life. You just have to open your mouth, share your testimony, and encourage the young population. The young population need to hear it because the young population are stressed out. There's so much they're facing compared to what you faced when you were young. And you know what I'm talking about. They need you. They need your testimony. They need your love. Just open your mouth and talk about it and dance today. I'll see you guys sometime this weekend. Love you. Y'all have a great day.